Hello, my little sparklings. Welcome to the first episode of my podcast. I hope to do more of these in the future where I just have a casual conversation about a given subject or multiple subjects that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do as a regular, fully edited video. In this first episode, I'm joined by my good friend Emperor Kumquat, and we talk all about being transgender. Since, this is still Pride Month. We discuss our own trans journeys and experiences, some of the misconceptions about trans people, the current anti-trans and anti-LGBT in general movement that's going on in the US and other parts of the world, and we also discuss things such as bathrooms, puberty, sexuality, and there's brief mentions of body parts, but none of it is explicit. It's all very clinical and lighthearted. So I just thought I'd let you know that this isn't my usual type of content, but I do want to do more stuff like this in the future. I'm not going to be talking about trans stuff all the time. For example, I'm planning to do a TFcon themed episode next, where it'll basically act as like a con prep guide, going over everything that TFcon has to offer, how to plan your time there, and just general advice from someone who has gone to a lot of TFcons and is a convention staff member. So if you're going to TFcon Toronto, or are planning to go to a future TFcon, and you have any questions about the show, please drop them down below in the comments. Now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 1 of That's Just Primal.
My first podcast.
My first podcast. Well, that's like, never mind. Kind of first podcast.
This was all your bright idea.
Yeah. So I don't know. Okay. I don't even know what this is going to be called. So
I guess we'll have to figure that out once we see like the way the conversation goes.
Yeah. Like, obviously, I'm not going to be talking about like trans stuff all the time, but like, just wanted to have like kind of like a chill podcast thing. So
I guess the viewers are going to learn more about us too and how we met, and it's like, oh look, our favorite Transformers YouTubers know each other. They're friends. They interact.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so
we can even say that we met at TFcon. You let me put my suitcases in your room.
Oh, yeah. No, that was at like the following TFcon, wasn't it? Or did you put... No, you only stayed...
Canadian ones.
Yeah, because I guess we should start getting into it. So yeah, like we met at like the TFcon, I want to say 20... Which one was it?
It was a COVID one.
Yeah, it was like the COVID one. It was the like Christmas TFcon where I want to say it was 2021. That's right.
That was my first TFcon, so I got this. It was like December. It was COVID. It was in Toronto. It was empty.
Yeah.
I was super excited. And I wrote like on my YouTube community feed, I was like, I'm at TFcon if you want to say hi to me. And then you wrote like, I'm here. And I'm like, oh my God, where are you?
Yeah.
And then we met up with each other.
I remember you said, oh, I'm wearing this brown thing. And it's like, oh, okay. I'll look for someone wearing the brown thing.
Yeah. But that's just when we met in person. Like we had, I knew about you for the longest time because one of your Rescue Bots Academy episodes, though, I was like recommended to me. It's the thumbnail where he's like green, the wrong color, and I was looking at that. I'm like, who the hell designed this thumbnail? So I clicked on it. I was like, you just swapped the colors for views, didn't you?
Yes.
You admitted to it.
Yeah. Well, that was the one where.
And then I just, yeah.
That was the one where Wedge reveals that he's a Decepticon, right? So it made sense.
Yeah, my favorite episode.
Constructicon colors.
It's just YouTube was like recommending the Wedge episode, but he was green, and I was like, "What? Who is this person?" And I click on you. I'm like, "Where did this person come from? They're doing so many reviews." And I just started watching your reviews.
Aww.
was like, okay, this definitely isn't Rodimus Primal. This is somebody else.
No, don't confuse me with Rodimus Primal.
No, you stood out for sure. I was like, this is a new person. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I've been watching your videos for a while, and I just knew like this person obviously is very like well informed about Transformers and stuff, and like I like how they approach everything as like a video essay and not just like infotainment kind of thing. I guess it kind of is infotainment, but like you have like just a more, I guess, like mature way of looking at it, where I'm just like, oh, that's so cute, and it's like all that stuff.
I totally do the English essays. I'll write like an essay and then I read the essay because I'm like trying to prove a point about something.
Yeah.
There's a goal to most of my videos. That's why.
Yeah, like I especially like remember yours where it's like eye color doesn't mean like that they're evil and stuff. It's like, I need to remember that.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I was saying like culturally, it doesn't make sense. Red is only a bad color in our culture.
Yeah. And it's like,
oh,
it kind of relates to what we're talking about now, where it's like, you can't judge a person based on their eye color, just how you can't judge a person based on their skin color or anything else, based on their appearance and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, by the way, I don't think we interacted like before TFcon. I knew about you, you knew about me, we watched each other's videos, and then I wrote a message on YouTube saying I was at TFcon. You're like, no way, I'm at TFcon too. And I was like, let's meet. And then we actually did meet up. Yeah. And you came up to me in like the dealer room and introduced yourself. And we started talking about trans stuff. I think you were thanking me for being open. Yeah. Openly trans on my channel.
Yeah, because I don't know if this is a bad thing to admit, but like I didn't know which way you were going in transition. So
I had only been transitioning for like a year. I don't remember if I had top surgery yet or not.
Oh, really?
Maybe I did. I might have had top surgery at that point. But I've only been transitioning for like 3 years. So in the middle ground is like I got to a point where people didn't know which way. Yeah. And they still don't because I have long hair in real life. So people get confused. It all depends on my clothes. That's how people, yeah. And back then, when you're talking to me, you weren't even like sure yet if you were trans or not. And I think we exchanged Discord or something. Yeah. So we were able to talk after that. And then you started messaging me about your feelings. And then we had phone calls like to talk about it. Yeah. And you sounded trans, like really trans to me, but I can't tell somebody. No one can tell you, hey, you're trans. It's for you. Yeah. Sorry, it's for you to decide. So I was like, trans people often feel this. And I explained gender dysphoria. And then you think about like, if you feel that way or not. Yeah.
I mean, like, that's definitely how, like, I felt for a while, like a long while. But I think I just didn't, I don't know, like, I didn't have, like, the language and stuff. Like, I didn't know, like, that was what I was feeling. And, like, I think it really did help to talk to like another trans person to like actually get an idea of like, oh yeah, I am this. And yeah, like that. I think that really helped me a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like you can say, I didn't tell you you are trans. I would just explain like, this is gender dysphoria. These are the people you could talk to. Like I mentioned, like you can see a gender therapist.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, like that's kind of like the whole, I know it's a different franchise, but like in Star Trek, like how they have like the prime directive, like that's the prime directive of trans people. You can't really tell someone that they're trans. They just kind of have to figure it out on their own. And
you gotta make sure people find what's right for them. I mean, they could just be genderqueer, non-binary. They might not want the transition at all. They have to think about their body, how they feel in their body, how they want to present themselves. Maybe they only want to change their clothes or have different pronouns. Maybe they have discomfort about body parts and do want surgeries or hormones. It's up to the individual. That's why they say every trans experience is a different one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I know when I was younger, I definitely wanted to dress like more feminine stuff. But like I know, like, for one thing, my parents wouldn't have tolerated that. And just like society in general was like definitely not there. Like, I mean, like
and you're a bit older than me, so it was even harder.
Yeah, like I don't want to give away my age, but yeah, like
you don't have to. I just know, like, only nowadays in the last 10 years, people are getting better about this. When I was a kid too, I don't think it's good.
Yeah, and like I know, like when I was growing up, we didn't like talk about trans people. Like that wasn't even a thing. Well, I'm not saying like trans people weren't a thing. It's just like there wasn't like the language, and there wasn't like the learning in school, like especially in my school.
Certainly,
like I went to Catholic school, so like,
oh gosh,
we definitely did not have that. It's like, go to church and stuff like that. It's like we did not learn about like trans or gay or anything like that. I don't know how.
I didn't go to religion school.
No,
I didn't go to a religious school. In my school, we learned about gay stuff.
Yeah,
we did not learn about trans stuff, though. We didn't. So I grew up with all these gender dysphoric feelings, and I didn't know what they were. I always had body issues growing up. Nothing anybody taught me. I just naturally had these feelings. From a little kid, I didn't want to grow boobs, and when I grew them, I really didn't want them. And I used to look in the mirror and get like really fussy about how I looked in the clothes I wore. My parents couldn't get me to wear jeans, and no one really knew why. They thought I had like some eating disorder or something because I wanted to be thin, but it wasn't that I wanted to be thin. I didn't want to be curvy. I didn't like my butt specifically as a kid. And so that was my issue, and I just didn't know why I hated myself so much.
Well, like some guys have curvy butts, so.
Yeah. My roommate's always bragging. He's like, I have a juicy. You can cut that part.
No, I'll leave that in.
I understand that some people are like, I got a plump bottom, and but like, I hated how I was perceived because gender is how you present yourself and how people perceive you. Are you comfortable with that? I definitely wasn't comfortable with it. I hated going to school, being flirted with by like straight guys, and teachers would call me sweetheart and honey. Waiters and waitresses would call me that too. I just really didn't like it. So I rebelled and cut my hair short.
Oh.
I didn't do it myself. I mean, like, I went to a hair salon and had my hair cut short because I wanted people to see me as masculine. Oh. I still didn't know I was trans. I just started doing these things. Yeah. Nobody told me to do it. I wore like shorts and masculine clothes. I went out to the mall. I bought masculine clothes. I cut my hair short so that people would stop treating me like that. And it helped. Oh. I guess that was my social change. I felt better doing that, but not completely, because I was still very unhappy with my body parts. So until I started physically transitioning, I had all that distress.
Yeah, like I kind of had a similar thing. Like I always tried to like let my hair grow out, and like whenever my parents would be like, you have to get a haircut and stuff, I would just like, no. And like until they got like really, like, I guess forceful of it, like only then I would get a haircut. But I remember there was like one time I was like so upset like about getting a haircut, and I really didn't want to get one. So I just got my hair buzzed, which seems like which seems like the opposite way to go, but it did make my mom like back off because she really hated when I had that done. So she never really, she never really bugged me after that. Well, she still bugged me, but she didn't bug me as bad. So yeah, like I definitely knew like I always wanted to, be more femme. It's just, I didn't learn about trans people until like very recently, like really that there was like that option that I could take. Like I know like there's the video that I just put out recently where I talk about like the cartoons that helped me realize I was trans, but like a lot of those were like kind of, fantasy based where it's like, oh, an alien ship crash lands on you and turns you into a girl. It's like, oh, I wish that would happen to me. And it's like, yeah, that's not really realistic, but there are like other avenues that you can go down that are realistic. So, but like, like I just never learned about those in school or growing up. And I, like you said, you didn't learn about those. So it's just kind of, I guess we both had to kind of like wait a while until like everything caught up with us, if that makes sense.
The thing was, I was extremely like closeted because my only exposure to trans people was Family Guy and South Park, which, as everybody knows, is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, you remember that episode where Brian realizes what he did with a trans woman and he barfs for like a minute straight? It's like everything we saw on TV showed me as a kid that trans people were disgusting, something that you puke about.
Yeah.
So here I was cutting my hair, dressing like a boy, wearing a suit to like graduation, and I had no idea I was trans. I was just doing all these things, and it was only like YouTube or I saw what people were doing and what surgeries one could have, where I sat there kind of like, I want to have that surgery. And then I was like, why don't I go have that surgery?
Yeah.
And that's how I discovered I was transgender.
Yeah, like for me, it was like the Ace Ventura movie. I don't know if you know about that movie, but like at the end, they revealed that the police captain was trans and they were the criminal that they were looking for all along. And then all the other policemen like just like start like gagging and throwing up, and it's like,
oh, I saw this.
Yeah, like that like really scarred me as a kid and like made me, I don't know if it made me not want to be trans. Like it just made me not want, I don't know, like to be put in that situation where it's like, well, for one thing, like Jim Carrey strips her down to her underwear, which is like totally unacceptable to do to anyone, like whether they're trans or cis or like a criminal or innocent. It's, you just don't do that. But like just like seeing those people's reaction to a trans woman, just I think it like really scarred me and like really prevented me from transitioning sooner. And yeah, like that movie was,
I understand,
was pretty awful. Yeah, I don't know if I can elaborate.
There's a lot
that.
of bad rep. I think only now with these new cartoons and stuff, we're getting better rep. Still not perfect. Like we can talk about the Nightshade thing later.
Yeah.
It definitely, it made us closeted and made us not want to be trans. We're like, oh, this is what trans is. It's disgusting. And that's probably why we have a lot of transphobic people today. Is because they've seen Family Guy and South Park.
Yeah.
Which tell you that people just one day decide to have trans surgery. They walk into a hospital, have a magical surgery, come out, regret it, and then go back by the end of the episode. The most unrealistic thing ever.
Oh yeah. Like, and like, just, I remember like also growing up, like there's Jerry Springer where like there's a lot of episodes of Jerry Springer where it's like, I don't even want to repeat the title, but they're just like awful, very transphobic titles. And it's always like, it's always like a gotcha moment where it's like, oh, this girl that I was going out with, turns out that she's trans. And of course, they wouldn't phrase it like that. They would phrase it in like a horrible
turns
way.
out she's a boy, and like,
Yeah.
well, she's not a boy.
Yeah, like she's a woman. It's like, if you really like this woman, then like get over the fact that she's trans. Like if you actually like her, whereas in most cases, the guy would just end up attacking her or something. It's like, that's horrible. It's like, how are you?
There's no excuse to attack someone. They do that on TV though. They're like, "Oh, you're trans," and then they like slap them or something. I've seen this in like a movie before. It's like, if you don't want to date that person, I mean, you can just break up with them.
Yeah.
But there's never an excuse to assault somebody for being trans.
And I think this like kind of history of trans people being portrayed in media, I think that's at least partially fueling a lot of the stuff that's going on now. Whereas like like people just see trans people as, I don't know, deceptive and perverted or something.
Yes, exactly. So did you see the Netflix documentary Disclosure?
No.
Because it's a documentary that specifically shows you instances of media where they make trans people look bad. They'll show you the Family Guy, the movies that like you just pointed out. They were shown in that documentary. That's why I know about them.
Oh.
So I definitely recommend that. I actually had to watch it in university.
Is this something I should watch, or is it just going to make me sad?
It might make you sad, but you probably have already seen everything that's in it.
But do they say like
against?
Do they say like this is bad representation? This is not true, or
yeah. The documentary is done by like trans people, and they'll show like these clips and stuff, and it'd be like they're making people think we're disgusting. They're driving that point across. It's mostly for like trans women because that's what people target the most. They think trans women are the most disgusting. But there was an instance of a trans masked character really terribly portrayed in a lesbian friendly show called The L Word.
Oh.
One of the lesbians comes out as trans and starts transitioning.
Right.
And this character becomes like a raging asshole once he starts taking testosterone.
Oh.
And so I was like, wow, okay. So they made the trans man look like a traitor to lesbians and then made him into a jerk character you're supposed to hate.
Oh, okay. Because
it's like
I've heard of shows like the L Word, the L Word, and like Queer as Folk and stuff like that. But I mean,
I didn't even want to watch Queer as Folk because when I saw the commercials for that, I was like, this makes us look bad. I don't want to watch this.
Really? I don't know. I just remember like, I don't know, maybe like it either like wasn't for me or it's something like, I can't watch this because I don't want my parents to like walk in and see me watching, catch me watching this.
Oh yeah, it just seemed like very sexual, and I was like, I don't want people to think that we're any more sexual than a heterosexual person because we're not.
No. If anything, less. Like if you read the side effects, like a lot of it's just like lowered libido and stuff like that, and it's like at least
it's true. Actually, it's true.
At least from the trans femme. Yeah, from the trans femme side, I know it might be different from the trans mask side, but
it's supposed to level out.
Yeah,
it's just like going through puberty a second time, really.
Yeah, like basically.
Acne and all.
I don't know. I'm doing pretty good with that. I haven't really had much acne.
Lucky.
Knock on wood.
Well, we can also talk about how we present ourselves because we were just talking about how when we grew up, we wanted to dress differently, but wanting to dress differently doesn't make someone trans because I believe clothes are for anyone.
Yeah.
You can be cisgender and straight and you can love makeup and dresses as a man.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's a different feeling being trans. It's not just presentation. It's your comfort with your body. You might want to change things about it, or you want people to perceive you differently.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you're a woman, you love Transformers. Anybody can love Transformers.
Yeah.
And I'm not a man because I like Transformers.
Yeah.
I think people get that wrong. It's not about stereotypes. Like, we're not saying if you're a feminine man, you must be transgender. Not at all.
No. Because, like, yeah, like, there's lots of feminine men, and I don't know, like, for some reason I keep going to Rescue Bots and Blades.
Yeah.
And, like, Blades is definitely, like, a feminine guy, but, like, he's not, like, a female character. He's just, like, a feminine dude robot. And, like,
or Knockout, you know, Knockout loves his beauty and stuff. It doesn't make him a trans woman. It's just a fabulous dude.
Yeah. And, like, we've had characters like Trax and Sunstreaker and, like, all kinds of stuff. Like how you present and how you act, and it's all independent, and it's not like a 1-for-1 thing. It's not like an automatic, like, oh, you're masculine, so you must be a man. Or you're feminine, so you must be a woman, or anything like that.
Yeah. I had like someone comment to me, it's like, oh, you're trans, you must hate tomboys, which isn't true. Like when I was young, people considered me as like a tomboy,
right?
You know, like a girl who was super into sports and climbing trees and stuff, which like that's a lot of people are like that, and that's totally fine. Just for me specifically, I didn't want to be like a tomboy. I wanted to actually like be masculine. I wanted people to call me he, him.
Right.
It's a separate thing.
Yeah. Like there is a difference between like a trans woman and a femboy. And
yeah,
like we were discussing before we started the podcast, but yeah, like I know to some people it can seem like tricky, but like it really depends on the person and how they want to present and how they want to be seen. So I think that's all part of being trans.
Yeah, they could be non-binary, whatever their pronouns or identity is. If you like misgender them, they're gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Hopefully politely. Nobody should scream at you for an accidental misgendering. People seem to think that we conform to stereotypes. I think a lot of trans people only try to be super masculine or super feminine, like especially at the start, is because they really want you to perceive them as their gender.
Yeah.
So a trans woman might go out and do lots of makeup and dresses and stuff, but they don't have to do that to be trans. They just want to be perceived in a certain way.
Yeah, like I know, like I definitely wanted to do that from the start, but like I knew like physically I wasn't there yet. I knew I had to like wait until certain things filled in.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, like I waited like basically a year until I started wearing dresses, and like dresses are awesome. But yeah, like I definitely understand that where a lot of trans people like they feel like they're in a rush, that they want to embrace their chosen gender as much as possible. But I do think
a lot of people are also just excited to do something they haven't done before. Like you haven't gone to wear dresses before, so you're going to go wear dresses.
Yeah. It's like, why not? I'm going to do it. I'm an independent woman. I can buy my own dresses and wear them. But yeah, like I think, and this, we're kind of going to get into it later, but I think like just like the like social transition, and especially like the clothes and stuff like that, is like a big part to deciding if you're trans, or like helping figure out like if you are trans, like if you're like comfortable in that space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like you test the waters, you see like, do these clothes make me feel good? Do I just like the clothes as they are, or is there like something about my body? Do I want my body to fit into these clothes differently?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Like I think being trans is quite freeing, because the more I transition, the more feminine I've actually been. Because before, like having a feminine body and being feminine like was a problem to me.
Right.
But being having a masculine body, and then like wearing skirts and stuff, I'm okay with that now. And I have long hair.
Yeah.
Like I said, I cut my hair really short before. Now that I've transitioned far enough, I have long hair again.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not conforming to stereotypes. I'm not like I have to be a manly man. No, I'm wearing like skirts and stuff, just whatever I feel like wearing that day.
Yeah. And you look good in the skirt.
Thank you. You look good in a dress.
Oh, thank you.
We can say what we have done the transition so far.
Yeah. So like I've mainly just done like hormones. So like I got started on the hormone regimen. So like I take estrogen and spironolactone, and that's basically all the medical stuff. Although I do like laser hair removal. I don't know if you'd consider that medical or more like aesthetic, but like that also helps because like, I mean, like the hormones and stuff will help reduce like some of the body hair and stuff, but it doesn't like eliminate the body hair you already have. It just kind of like slows it down. So you kind of have to need like either laser or electrolysis to actually like get rid of any existing body hair. But I think that's basically what I'm doing for my transition. I don't know if I want to do any surgeries yet. That's like another thing. A lot of like, I think people misunderstand that like just because you're trans doesn't mean that you're going to do any surgeries. Like some people may not want any surgeries, or they might want certain surgeries, or also the other way, like they might not want hormones, or they might like not want either, or some combination thereof, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
I don't know if I'm going too long at that part or not.
No, this is good. So you gotta tell people it's not one magical surgery, and they're not just handing out hormones.
Yeah.
You told us about the estrogen you got, but it wasn't easy to get that. You had to like get a diagnosis from a gender therapist, and then with that you talk to like a family doctor or a hormone doctor, and you get like a prescription and a lot of paperwork to fill out. They tell you what you're getting into.
Yeah, for me, I think it felt easier because I am older. Again, not trying to like age myself, but like basically like after I talked to you at TFcon, I eventually built up the courage to talk to my family doctor, and I said, "Hey, I think I'm trans. You know, I'm pretty sure I'm trans." And he was like, "Okay, well, here, call this gender clinic, and they'll get you started." And so, like, I had to call them, and there was like several like meetings and stuff where basically like I went through just like how I was feeling and why I think I'm trans and stuff like that. And yeah, like it was like a several meeting process, but like I did have to wait like several months and stuff to start on hormones. So it wasn't like an overnight thing.
You didn't walk out the door
no,
with the hormones in hands.
But I think it was like quicker than you because you are younger, and I think you started like, I know
it was pretty quick actually.
Yeah.
Just because they assess you. This is what people don't understand, is you don't just walk in and the doctor's like, here you go. You have professionals ask you questions about how long you felt this way, and you have to give your story. And like you have to have like this many years you felt this way.
Yeah.
If you've only recently, you're like, oh, I only started feeling trans this year. They'll tell you, no, you're not going to get hormones. Try social transitioning for a year and then come back to us. They're going to tell you something like that. For me, I said I had been feeling this way for at least like 7 years since I was in high school for sure. And they're like, okay, would you like to sign up to the waiting list? And so it took like a year before I was given the hormones. Sometimes waiting lists are quite long. especially because I'm in a big city. So you have tons of time to rethink things and cancel if you wish. Like there's definitely no rush. In fact, it was so slow that I was getting like depressed. That's how bad it was.
Yeah. And depression's already like a common thing with trans people.
Yeah.
So that kind of it kind of sucks that you had to wait that long, but like
same with surgeries and stuff. You have to, like, after you fill out everything, you have to get doctors' letters of recommendations, insurance, and then you might have to wait a year or more for your surgery, like I did.
Yeah.
So the surgery is just as hard to get as the hormones. You're not rushed into it. You are assessed by several medical professionals, and then you're put on a list, and you can think about it all you want. And finally, you have the surgery day. You still your choice to go or not.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, like, they don't give these surgeries to kids.
No.
Like,
definitely
no,
not.
They don't give these. That's just a lie that people tell you.
Yeah.
What they do with kids is a therapist assesses them. Like, they get therapy. They can do a social change, which is going by different name, pronouns, whatever clothes they want to wear.
Yeah.
They're not mutilating kids, and they're not giving kids hormones. They might give them puberty blockers, which is different. That only delays their puberty so they can think about if they're trans for a longer period of time. And if they decide, yes, I'm trans, then they haven't gone for puberty, so they can go through the desired puberty they want.
Yeah.
And if they think, I'm not trans, then they stop taking the puberty blockers. They have their puberty naturally, no ill effects whatsoever.
Yeah. Like it's literally just hitting the pause button on puberty. And then, like you said, like whether they're trans or cis, then they can decide for themselves and they can go through their chosen puberty without the side effects of the wrong puberty.
Yeah.
And it just makes it a lot easier on them because, like, trust me, like, laser hair removal is really expensive. Like, it is insanely expensive. Like,
kids aren't getting the laser hair removal because they can't afford it.
No, like, if I told you how much I'm paying for that, like, oh my God, your jaw would hit the floor.
Your entire YouTube revenue goes towards the laser hair removal.
More like my entire, like, work paycheck.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, so the stuff that's happening in the US right now is complete fear-mongering based on lies. They're saying trans people are corrupting kids, making them take hormones, making them have surgeries. That's not remotely true in the slightest. And so when they make these laws saying you can't give kids any trans healthcare, what that means is now they can't have therapy, they can't socially transition, and they can't have puberty blockers, which is made so that they can think about themselves longer. Now they don't have any opportunity to think about who they are.
Yeah, like it's really awful, like what they're doing down there. Like, and like hopefully they figure out, like, I don't know, just shaking my head. Like, I just hope they come around sooner rather than later, because it's not healthy for their society. Like,
no,
you're gonna have like this whole generation of people who have all this like pent up emotions and stuff because they were forced to either hide themselves or detransition or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, it is not good for their people, which I would think would be the job of politicians and stuff, is to look after the people that they're supposed to, but it just really seems like they're trying their best to harm them in as many ways as possible.
They believe they're helping people, protecting them from us, as we're a danger in their eyes. That's the whole thing. All those lies about the surgeries, we're coming after the children, we're sexual predators. I hope people understand as we explained in life, what our transitioning journeys are, it's not easy to transition. It's
No.
not just happening. It's not happening to kids.
No, like
It's hard, and we're full on adults, and it's difficult.
yeah, like again, like if a kid says they're trans, like the only thing they're getting, like if they're under puberty age, they're only doing social transition. So like if your kid wants to wear a dress, let them wear a dress. If they want to cut their hair short, let them cut their hair short. It's not going to hurt them. And then when they get to puberty age, then they start the hormone blockers. And again, like it's not going to hurt them. It's just like, if anything, they'll be a late bloomer. That's it.
Yeah.
Like
that's it.
People just really making like a big deal out of something that is not that big of a deal. Like really.
Mm-hmm. And whether your kid's trans or not, like if whatever clothes they want to wear, whatever they want to do with their hair, just like let them. Otherwise, you're just being like really sexist. You're like, oh, my boy can't wear a dress. Like clothes are for everybody.
Yeah.
Let them do as they do. Figure out what they like, who they are.
Yeah, like I know, like back in like the Victorian days, like boys actually wore dresses, and in fact, boys weren't even called boys; they were called girls. And there was I forget what the other name for like actual girls was, but like I know boy was usually like a derogatory term. Like if you if you go way back, I don't know, I'd have to like look it up again.
Until the late 15th century, the word girl was used to refer to a child of any gender. Maiden child was used for a little boy, and gay girl was used for a girl. The word boy was actually a derogatory term for servants, and man was used for an adult of any gender.
Like what they wore normally was just like these Victorian dresses and stuff, and so they just all the boys just wore dresses. It's like, can we go back to that, please? At least for me, I know
everything's just culture.
Yeah,
like even in the past, like bras hadn't even been invented in the past. So like nowadays, people are like, you're a woman, you must wear a bra or you're scandalous.
Yeah,
it wasn't like that before.
Oh my god, we're getting into bras.
We're getting into bras. Oh no! Tell us, how do you like bras?
Bras kind of suck.
Yeah,
like they do have their uses. For I guess
putting your money in there.
Well, sure. Okay, let's go there.
Hide the wallet.
I was going to go somewhere else, but yours is a lot less lewd. Yeah.
Okay, good. I know people who die. I understand though. I used to wear bras when I was younger, and then I like hardcore rejected the wire ones because one, they hurt, and I was super feminist, and I'm still really feminist. So when I was a teenager, I was either wearing like a sports bra because I didn't buy binders, so sports bras were good, made my chest flat, or I didn't wear a bra and I would wear like a thick hoodie. Yeah, because it hurts to compress your chest. It's hard being trans mask pre-transitioned. Yeah, I have to like watch which way I sleep now. So it's like I can't like sleep on my stomach because that hurts. It's it comes. It's like, boobs are cool, but like they have their drawbacks. I understand like some of the stuff that you were warning me about before. Before they grew in. I was like, bras are terrible. Yeah. And you're probably excited to get bras, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to take them off. Yeah. Like that's what I did before we hopped on here. It's like, I need to get this thing off. But like, as long as you're not wired bras, they're usually okay. At least for me. Mm-hmm. I do have to get new ones because I think I've gone up a size. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. Are there other like misconceptions we should go over? Other trans issues that we can tell people about? I think we kind of went over that, didn't we? Like we mentioned how the surgeries and stuff for sure. Yeah. We went over the stereotypes. You can wear whatever clothes you want. It's not like feminine men have to be trans. Besides the surgeries and stuff, other trans issues are like bathrooms. And that's like a
Right.
huge talking point with the right wing is they perceive especially trans women as a threat to
Yeah.
women's spaces.
Whereas like
And
I just want to go pee. Like, and
yeah.
I don't know if people understand this, but when you're on spironolactone, which is the testosterone suppressor, it is also a diuretic, which means that it makes you pee more. So I have to pee
Dear,
more.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like I have to, I don't know if I have to pee more than the average woman, but I definitely have to pee more than the average man.
Mm-hmm.
So like it feels like you're targeting trans women even more because like at least ones who haven't
you have to pee the most.
yeah, like at least the ones that haven't had bottom surgery, they have to use the bathroom more, and you're saying that they can't use the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Let's talk about like the Florida bill. You heard about it? How they're saying in most buildings you must go to the bathroom on your like. This is funny. I don't know if they're saying like birth certificate or something because we legally changed that. So if they go off the birth certificate, like whatever, but they want it to be like your biological sex, they don't freaking understand transitioning because like you got like boobs and stuff now. They want you to go to the men's bathroom. The men are going to think you're a woman and try to kick you out of there, and they might harass you and get violent.
Yeah, I definitely don't want that.
Yeah, and then on the opposite end, there are trans men who they have flat chests, they're super hairy, maybe they've been going to the gym a lot. You want these deep-voiced, muscular mofos to go into the women's bathroom? You think that's what the women want too? No.
Yeah, I think a lot of these people just like don't know or don't realize that like trans men exist as well. They think it's all trans women. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
For me, it's already so hard going to, like, I can't really decide which bathroom to go to because wherever I go, I'm not welcome. People will just think I'm in the wrong place because I look so androgynous that I have to pick a bathroom based on the current clothes that I'm wearing because that's how people judge me by. So if I'm wearing, like, a tank top and, like, masculine shorts, people are going to think I'm a guy because there's very clearly no breasts there. And so if I go in the women's bathroom, they'll like think I shouldn't be there. And if I'm wearing very pretty like skirts and stuff and I have long hair and I go into the men's bathroom, I might get harassed. It's super difficult. But here's my word of advice to people is no matter what someone looks like, if they go to the bathroom, minding their own business, doing the normal thing, going into a stall, washing their hands, leaving, don't talk to them. They're not doing anything creepy. They're not standing there watching you, listening to you. They go in, they go out. You have no reason to bother them. And if they don't look lost, they probably know where they are. People keep trying to say, like, excuse me, I think you're in the wrong place. I would be running already. Like, I've seen everybody who's around me. I'm not dumb. Like I this actually happened. I went to a male's change room and I started changing where other guys were around. Someone comes up to me and tries to say, "You're in the men's change room." Yeah, I freaking know. I'm half naked now. I know this. But the thing is, I didn't actually answer. All I did was take my sweater off, and he saw my flat chest and was like, "Oh, sorry," and then just let me alone.
That's awesome.
I don't know. It's I just like dramatically expose my chest.
If I ever go into the women's change room, I'll have to do that.
Just like pull back your sweater and pop your chest out.
Yeah, here's my boobs.
Tough. It's like I mean nobody no harm. I don't do anything creepy. In fact, with trans people, they don't want to be bothered so much that they're going to keep their eyes down and be as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Until you see us standing there watching you, leave us alone.
Yeah. Like, I've only recently, well, not that recently, started using, like, the women's washroom. And I think, like, the first time was, like, when I was flying to TFcon LA. Like, we were in the terminal and like I really had to go to the washroom, and I was like, all right, screw it, I'm going into women's, and it was totally fine. Like nobody bothered me or nothing. And like, so I've been using like the women's since then. And like occasionally someone would give me like a look or something, but like most of the time, like I'm just like in and out. I do my business. I don't pay anybody any attention. And like you said, I'm just trying to get like, do my business as fast as possible and get out of there.
Yeah.
Like I'm not hanging out in the women's washroom, even though they are nicer.
They are cleaner. I can confirm too. I've been in both. The
like,
women's are better.
Yeah, like especially like at the TFcon Toronto hotel. Like I had used the men's one before, and then I went into the women's one. It's like, wow, this one is like way bigger. Like, how is this one so big? This is like stepping into the TARDIS. Like it's
there's more stalls.
Yeah, but like there's like that huge like section where it's just like a mirror and stuff, where I guess like you do like your makeup or whatever. But like the women's washroom is much nicer. It's like
it is. It definitely is.
I feel sorry for the guys.
Oh, they gotta stop peeing on the floor. That's all I can say.
I will say that if there's no like like those toilet covers, if there's no toilet covers, I will just stand and use the toilet standing.
Masculine way?
The masculine way. And I'm just like, I don't care.
I hope nobody sees your feet and they're like, huh.
I know. I have the same thing. It's like, just don't look at my feet. But I also like don't care because like I don't want to sit on it like a dirty toilet because I'm a little bit of a, not a total germaphobe, but like, I don't know. I just don't like public washrooms. Like, I definitely prefer like if they have like the toilet seat covers. Then I'll sit. But like, if I only have to do number one, then I'll stand. And it's like, I don't care. If you clock me, you clock me.
Honestly, yeah, if they clock you, if they see you like the way your feet are facing and they try to harass you after it, it's like, I mean, what the hell? You're in a private stall. You're not peeing in front of people. It's none of their business how you pee as long as you're not getting it on the floor.
Yeah.
I saw this video on YouTube a long time ago. Maybe you've seen this like right-wing woman interviews people. It's like, do you think urinal should be in the women's bathroom? No.
I remember this.
It was crazy. People were like, yeah, sure. Trans women do not want to out themselves and pee in front of you at a urinal. I don't think they want to use urinals.
No,
and this isn't what the people want.
I don't even know how I would use a urinal in like a skirt or a dress. I just don't think that would work.
No. Like I was saying with like change rooms and restrooms, is trans people don't want to make a show of themselves. They want to like hide and not be noticed. Because often trans people, they don't want people to know they're trans. They just want to blend in as though they were cis.
Yeah, I know like the passing versus not passing is a big thing for a lot of trans people. Like I know a lot of trans people just want to pass, whereas others say like it shouldn't matter whether you pass or not. It like
yeah, I'm in that camp too.
Yeah.
Like me, like I don't try to be super masculine. I grow facial hair now. I shave it all off. I don't want it. I wear feminine stuff because like I don't really care. I like how I look like this. I'm like, okay, flat chest. I don't like all this hair. I'll shave this hair, that, perfect. And when people look at me, it's like a 50-50 what they call me. I don't care. I don't need to like pass as super masculine. I do like he, him more, and I like my new name. But I've like settled, so I found as far as I want to go. Yeah,
like I know I'm always worried about like passing and stuff, and like I still don't think that I do pass. But then I'll have like people tell me that I do pass as female. Like like me and like a bunch of other friends went and saw Rise of the Beast together, and the one guy, like I've known him for a while, but I've never met his wife before. So this was my first time meeting his wife, and so like I went in like a dress and everything like that. Like I tried to look nice because we're going for like a nice night out, And so like I ended up sitting next to her in the theater, and we were like talking before the movie started. And I mentioned that like how a lot of my viewers were like super chill and super nice about me being trans and very accepting and stuff like that. And then like I think it was like a week later or something, my friend is telling me that like, oh, by the way, my wife totally didn't know that you were trans. And I'm just like, aw. It's like, yeah, like she apparently didn't know I was trans until I mentioned that. And yeah, and I think, yeah, like there was, I remember there was that comment that Paper Plane sent us, or sent me, where somebody was like, wait, Ultra Primal is trans? Am I
say it all the
time? Yeah, I thought I say it all the time, but they must be new. So, yeah. So like whenever I get comments or something like that, it's like, oh, thank you. Because like, I know it shouldn't matter that I pass, but I really want to pass. So.
Sometimes it just feels good knowing how far you've come.
Yeah.
Like you've changed a lot, and that feels good sometimes. Some people might like assume you're cis or not, depending on how they stereotype women. Like if they might, if they're like discriminating against lots of people, they're going to be calling like cis women like trans, even though they're not. Like in that video we were just talking about.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier.
Cis woman got harassed in the bathroom because someone thought they were trans.
Yeah, and it's like if you start holding people up to these impossible standards, it's like just eventually everybody is going to be a victim. Like, you can't, like, everybody has like a different idea of what like femininity and masculinity is. Like, I definitely don't think that like my idea of masculinity isn't the same thing as someone like Andrew Tate's idea of masculinity is.
Oh God.
Yeah, if you know who that guy is.
I do, unfortunately.
Yeah. Like I don't play with that. I'm not into guys that are like that. That I want nothing to do with that. So that is not my ideal man. If I'm even going after a man, like I'm technically pan or whatever. So
let's go ahead and mention that being trans doesn't actually define which sexuality you have. A lot of people might think like, the trans women are after the cis women's, but you know, a trans woman might only like guys. They might only like girls. They might like everybody. They might like nobody. Same with the trans mass. Like me, I'm asexual. So for all the people who are like, oh, trans are predatory sexual predators, I'm like, I don't have a sexual orientation. So how can I be that?
Yeah, like I guess I don't want to clarify for you, but like you're asexual, but you're pan-romantic, right?
Yeah. I would date like anybody regardless of gender. In fact, I've had a boyfriend, I've had a girlfriend, and right now I have a non-binary partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're sampling the whole
I'm collecting the genders like Pokemon cards.
Yeah. Gotta catch them all.
Yeah. Like I don't really care. I just love a person, and that's all there is to it.
And I don't know if you had this experience, because like you are ace, but like I know, like, when I was talking to the trans woman at the clinic, like, before I started hormones or anything, I know she was talking about it, and she said that when she started hormones, or, like, after she started hormones, she started becoming more attracted to men. Like, I think she was always, like, bi, but she started liking guys more. Whereas, like, I think I had, like, the opposite reaction, where like I would have said that I would more like even attraction to like men, women, and non-binary people, but now I definitely lean more towards like feminine people. So like either like women, either like cis or trans, or just like feminine non-binary people, or really feminine men. So I don't know.
So
like,
as you started transitioning,
did you have any?
you found, yeah. I think I have a good explanation for it. But first, you were saying as you transitioned, you actually started liking girls more, whereas this other trans person started liking guys more. I
Yeah.
think it could be hormones, or it's the increased comfort you have with your own body now. For me, before I transitioned, I never would have dated a girl or anybody with female body parts. But as I transitioned, I feel super comfortable with myself now. Like I can be with people and feel in a different way.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And especially if you're a sexual person and first you're disgusted with your body, but now you like your body, suddenly you're going to like go out there and do things that you didn't do before.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it. Like just being more comfortable with your body, but like also like how like other people make you feel, I think is a big thing. I know there's like a trans woman I was watching where she went on a date with, I don't know if they identify as male or if they're non-binary, but they went on a date with this person and they were definitely presenting more masc, but she was talking about after the date how going on a date with them made her feel more feminine because like they were doing like the typical stuff, like they were doing the driving, they were taking them to nice places and paying for the meals and just to like not to like reinforce gender roles, but like kind of like taking on the man's role, and it helped make her feel more feminine to be like just like treated nicely and stuff.
Yeah, it must feel nice to be perceived the way you want to be perceived. Those stereotypes we don't like stereotypes or sexism, of course, but it always feels good to be affirmed in your gender. Even if somebody like catcalls you, a part of you would be like, oh, well, you thought I was a pretty lady. That's nice.
Yeah.
Though catcalling like sucks. I had that before I transitioned. I know what that's like.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I think trans people are unique in that we like get to step in different worlds. We have a very broad understanding. Like, I've experienced like what it's like to be a woman dating a man, and then I've experienced what it's like being a man dating a man, and now I've experienced being kind of like a non-binary dating a non-binary. Like, I've done lots of things. I've basically been all over the LGBTQ plus alphabet. I've done everything.
Yeah, you're ticking them off like a bingo card.
As I discover myself, I really got to understand what everybody else's experiences are.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point too, because like being trans is not always about a destination. Like it's not like, okay, I was male, I'm going to be totally female. It's not always that. Like, and sometimes it does change. Like even I was like kind of in that boat where it's like I want to be, only perceived as female and stuff like that. But occasionally I do like lean a little bit into the non-binary thing. I still wouldn't consider myself non-binary, but like I do use like she, they as pronouns. Like I'm not exclusively she, her, but I definitely prefer she, her, but I don't know. I think I still have like some growing and developing on that aspect. Like I know like you were saying like you're obviously trans masc, but you are leaning more towards like the non-binary,
I think so, yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
I usually answer like if someone asks like what's your gender, I'd be like I'm questioning because I don't really know. All I know is I'm very happy this way. I knew I didn't like parts of my body. I've changed my body and super great, love it. I have my hair, my clothes the way I like it. I have a voice that I like, so this is all going well for me. I just wish people didn't have a problem with me because I haven't done anything inappropriate or criminal. No. I've just changed myself the way I want to. Like I thought Americans believe in freedom, right?
Yeah.
But they have an issue with bodily freedom.
Yeah, apparently freedom is only restricted to the freedom to be a jerk. So
we should mention that both of us sitting here are Canadian.
Yeah. And like how at least from our perspective, Canada is pretty much like, I don't want to say a paradise for trans people, but like it's definitely like one of the top countries to be trans in. Like, I honestly can't think of like another country that is like as accepting or as like supportive of trans people.
Yeah, as
like,
far as I know, Canada is the best. Yeah.
Yeah. I know like stuff is getting pretty bad in like England, and I know before the podcast you mentioned Australia and
Australia.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe New Zealand. Like, I'm hearing about like protests and stuff down south. I'm like, yeesh, Canada is like the last safe haven of the English speaking world, and I hope that doesn't change because of the US.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about Canada is like a lot of people, and especially like politics, kind of like leak over from the US, and like a lot of Canadians like see what they're doing, and sometimes they mimic it, and a lot of times it's like it's not good things to mimic.
I saw a newspaper call it copycat protesters.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the whole thing that happened in Ottawa like last year.
Oh, the Freedom Convoy thing?
That felt very American. Yeah, the whole convoy thing.
Oh, I think a lot of them were like American, or they came from a different part of Canada and they drove all the way there. There were definitely a lot of American flags flying.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, Canada is not perfect. You will encounter transphobic people here. I hear about it. I've heard it in the wild, transphobia. Me, though, I'll always confront it when I hear it.
Yeah. I think I would be
too shy.
I want to say like I would confront it, but I'm also not as like strong or tough as I used to be. Like the estrogen definitely killed my muscle mass.
No, I'm a short person. It's not like I'm physically intimidating. You just have to like know how to argue and be strong and call out people for their discrimination. Yeah. Some things, like, I could recommend a few phrases. For example, you could say, is there anyone in your life that is trans? Instead of saying, like, have you met a trans person? Because they might be like, oh yeah, this person yelled at me because I misgendered. I'm like, do you actually like know a trans person? Do you have family or friends? Because things can like change if you have a trans friend or a gay friend or a friend of a different country. Like, you could be racist, but once you befriend someone of another country or talk to them, you have a different perception of them.
Yeah.
That is, if you're a person who's capable of love. If you're a person who's incapable of love, and then you have like a trans kid, I don't think they're going to be accepting. I don't think you can really help that. But if you're a person who's capable of love, and someone in your life who's important to you is trans, everything will change, and you'll realize just how wrong and hateful you've been. You'll realize you're hurting real people, not like boogeymen.
Yeah, like I've seen like a lot of like TikToks and videos of like trans people coming out to like their parents or grandparents, and like they thought they were going to be like super transphobic, but they ended up actually being very accepting because like it's still your kid. Like, it's still someone you love, and that's not changing, or that shouldn't change if they're trans.
Nah. Same brain, same person inside there. Even if your outside changes a bit, inside you've always been the person they grew up with. Yeah.
You're still the same meat puppet. It's just the meat has changed a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I think my family was pretty good. Even my grandma. Actually, my grandma thinks I'm two-spirit because she has indigenous beliefs. And my dad tried to explain to her what it was. And she's like, oh, we have a two-spirit kid. And I was like, yeah, sure. So, yeah, if you want to call me that. About how part of my family is indigenous, so that's why.
That's
it's not something I personally identify as, but, you know, I don't care. My grandma's chill with me.
I'll be honest, like, I thought I was two-spirit because I definitely felt like I had like a masculine side and a feminine side for a while. But then I learned that that's not something that non-indigenous people can be. It's like, oh, okay. I was just like appropriating this identity, even though like it spoke to me, but like, yeah.
I don't know everything about it. I do know a bit of indigenous stuff. I think the idea is like anybody can be two-spirit because it's not just one gender that someone has for being indigenous.
Yeah.
It's kind of like their conception of trans or non-binary people before people talked about it. I think you'd have to like really understand it. I don't think non-indigenous people should be using two-spirit just because we do have these other words. We have non-binary, we have agender. That one's more like
we have
sort of like the
bigender.
religion.
Yeah. Like if anything, I was like bigender, but it's just
right.
Like, and even like two-spirit is like an umbrella term because like a lot of different indigenous cultures have like different genders and stuff that they recognize. Like we just like lump it all together under two-spirit, but it's actually more complicated.
Throughout the world in all different cultures and languages, they've had terms to describe transgender, non-binary, genderqueer people in the past because we've always existed. So the reason you wouldn't want to use two-spirit is that's not specifically your belief system or your religion. It's just someone else's way of defining it. So you could find like your own bigender, agender, whatever you want to go with.
Yeah. Like I definitely feel comfortable with trans women, all that stuff. Like I wouldn't consider myself bigender anymore. I'm just talking about like younger Ultra when she was still like figuring this stuff out. Like I think I just like saw something about two-spirit on TV and it was like, oh, maybe that's what I am. And it's like, no.
Yeah, I didn't get the full context to what that actually means. Like, although my grandma calls me two-spirit, she even made me a special card that was basically like, congratulations on being two-spirit. I love you. And I was like, well, it's not my belief system, so I won't call myself two-spirit, but it was really cute that she didn't care. It's like, okay, new name, new pronouns, and she's never misgendered me.
Oh, that's
it's
awesome.
Like being an old lady. My parents are pretty good, especially my dad. He's always been like, do what you want. You're a free person. My mom was a little weird, but we got through that.
Yeah. I know my mom still is, like, she's getting better all the time. A lot of it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but she's still, you know, she's still making progress and stuff.
Yeah, I just hope like they get used to be like, oh, this is still my kid. Things have changed, but I see you in there. So
yeah, and like she's paid me like compliments before.
Yeah,
like I know, like when I got my hair done, she was initially like, well, that's not a color that I would have chosen. And then like an hour later, she like called me in and she was like, you know, you look a lot more feminine with your hair like that. And I was like, aw, thanks, Mom. And like, I remember, like I took a picture of myself, like the first time I went out in a dress and like I showed it to my mom later and she said that I look better in a dress than she does.
So that's good.
It's like, oh, thanks, Mom.
I'm glad.
So like she's been pretty supportive lately. So I don't know. I think it'll all get better in time. I know I've had like fans and stuff reach out to me and talk about like how they feel like they're trans or like they know that they're trans, but like their parents aren't accepting. And I know it's like really hard and stuff. And a lot of kids they're not in the situation where they can transition. And like a lot of them, I guess like the only option is to just wait until either their parents come around or wait until they can move out.
Yeah.
Because like if you're trans, then you're going to be trans. And nobody's going to stop you, but sometimes it is safer to wait until you're in a better position to transition.
Yeah. And when
I
you
don't know if
transition,
you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah. And when you say transition for like kids, you're talking about like they can't even social transition. Their parents refuse to call them by a different name or different pronouns, and they won't let them dress how they want or have their hair what they want. It's extremely controlling conforms to stereotypes too, sexist as well. But like, you're just making your kid unhappy. We're always saying things like, you can't force a kid to have whatever job you want them to have, and now you can't really force them to be whatever gender you want them to be.
Yeah, like I know there was the whole thing of like parents like forcing their kids to be just like them, and like I think we've gotten over that, but it's also like now it feels like the gender thing and even like the sexuality thing is also like that.
It is
but the new version.
Yeah, it's the parents are trying to mold you into being like them. You're not letting kids have the freedom. Oh, tell the people about New Brunswick, because we said Canada's not perfect. There was something that happened to New Brunswick.
So I forget like the exact details, but I think there was some kind of ruling passed recently where if a kid wants to like socially transition at school, so like they wear the clothes that they want to wear and they go by the pronouns that they want to and go by the name that they want to, there's been a ruling that they can't do that anymore. Like the teachers are forced to tell the parents, and they have to get permission from the parents in order to let the student like go by those pronouns and that name, which is really awful because like I mentioned, a lot of kids like have homes where they can't transition because maybe their parents are bigoted and not accepting of trans people, like even if it's their own child.
Mm-hmm. What the bill has basically done is allow abusive parents to have full control over their child. All their child's choices. Their child can't be who they want to be. They can't even dress how they want to do. It's just like the parents controlling a kid. And I thought we were talking about like, you know, kids should be free. They should be who they want to be. Parents can't mold them and force them to be like them. This law is letting parents like decide who their child's going to be.
Yeah. And like, it really sucks because like kids who don't have a great home life, a lot of the time, like school is like where they get to be themselves and they get to like basically get away from that home life, even if it's for like 6 hours in a day or something. Like, and then to take that away from them is just like heartbreaking.
Yeah. If the parents don't already know that the kid wants to have different pronouns and name, the kid obviously has a problem with their parents. They don't want to tell their parents. If it's a secret between the kid and the teacher, there's a problem at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like usually, like traditionally, if there's a problem at home, like that's who you go to. Is you go to your teacher. But if you can't go to your teacher, then like you're not leaving kids any options. And that's when things get desperate or dangerous for kids.
And in normal situations, when there's a problem at home, you don't give the parents more power over the kid. You protect the kid and take them away from the parents.
Yeah. Like if it's really like an extreme situation where they are, I don't even want to say it, like, but if they are being abused by the parents, it's not right for kids to have to be put through that.
I hope the bill or law or whatever it's called, it gets turned around. I think there were some protests about it. God, that does not belong in Canada.
No.
Right now, trans kids in New Brunswick are being told they don't have the right to be their true selves, that they need to ask permission. Well, trans kids need to feel safe, not targeted by politicians. We have to stand against this. We have to stand up for the freedoms we believe in and continue our work of letting love be louder than hate.
Because overall, it's great here. Like all my stuff, like my surgeries, it was free. I had insurance for it. It was good. In the US, though, it's like a lot of trans people just straight up can't afford the surgeries.
Yeah.
Or their states don't even let you have it anymore.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Although I will say that like a lot of those anti-trans bills that have been passing, I have seen that like some of them have started getting blocked by like judges and stuff.
Oh, thank
Like,
God.
I'm not sure like how exactly how it works in the US, but I did see that like a lot of them were getting blocked by like whatever the process is. Like I know like the governor, whoever, can say whatever and pass whatever bill he wants, but then there is like some process after that to actually put it into law.
Okay.
But a lot of whoever the judge is saying no, like you're obviously just doing something horrible here, so we're not going to pass this. I'd have to like look it up again.
Yeah.
But that is like a silver lining that like a lot of that stuff is at least somewhat being overturned. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that continues to happen.
Not in like a place like Texas though. I think right now it's like a parent can be separated from their child or even put in jail for trying to help their kid transition in any way the transition is like if you support your trans kid, give them the love and care that they need, then suddenly you're the bad guy, you're a criminal. That's messed up.
And I know there's been like a lot of like internal migration within the US of like people fleeing those anti-trans states. Like I've seen stories of like people like just packing up everything they could and just leaving because their kids are trans or they're trans and they just cannot live there anymore. And like I think the fortunate thing is that like there's other states that have started passing like laws that will say that they'll never pass like
protective
awful
laws.
Yeah, like protective laws. Like I know there was like a anti-book burning law that I think passed recently in New York. I want to say. Mm-hmm.
Nazi Germany, fascist Italy, the Taliban's Afghanistan. We refuse to let a vitriolic strain of white nationalism coursing through our country determine whose histories are told. Not in Illinois.
So, and I remember like the governor or whatever, just like he really dug into a lot of those anti-trans states.
Oh my
just
goodness,
saying like how awful they were. It's like, oh yeah, you go, dude.
Yeah, internal roasting, state versus state warfare. I wish I could just
it's
do
like
it like
literally it's like literally like the what is it, like the Civil War 2.0.
It's kind of scary how many states are red though.
Yeah.
The Crimson Tide.
It's a lot.
And there I was in Texas twice this year, trying not to be suspicious.
Every time I was like, what are you doing down there, dude?
I'm like, I have to be there. Yeah, it's literally like I either have to be like super cute and with my skirt and stuff, or like as masculine as possible to avoid suspicion. Which doesn't happen because with me, you know what effect I have? I'm the person, like, you walk into the bathroom, you walk out of the bathroom to double check the sign because you think you walked into the wrong place. People do that all the time. I'm washing my hands, someone steps into the bathroom, they quickly step out, and I see them like open the door and check the sign and check me, and then I don't know, I pass some sort of test because then they come back in and use the bathroom. They always do. I don't know, they like scan me and they're like, what percentage feminine or masculine are you? And then they always decide I pass everywhere, and yet I don't pass at the same time.
Oh really?
Yeah, I make them question and then they accept me. Usually. It's not a nice feeling though. It's like you don't want to be a weird one, you just want people to ignore you. They stop and they gawk and I'm like, just washing my hands, avoiding eye contact.
Well, at least they don't like harass you or anything in there.
Nah, the worst.
Or at least I hope they don't.
No one's ever gotten mad at me. I'm still like prepping myself for the day that might happen. Most of the time, it'd be like somebody's like, "Excuse me, I think you're in the wrong place," and that usually happens in the men's bathroom actually. And so I just pull out my voice, and that makes them shut up. I'm convinced the day it happens in the women's bathroom, I'll just make eye contact and punch my crotch really hard, and then they'll leave me alone.
Why would you do that?
Because I'll be like, look, I don't have the part you think I have.
Oh my god.
Like, no reaction. I don't double over in pain. I'm just like, see, it's all fine. I don't know, man. Anyway.
I know I can't do that.
No. They'd be like, are you a woman? Prove it. Punch yourself in the crotch. And you're like, oh, wait. That's not fair. All right. Well, that was trans in Canada and the rest of the world. You want to start talking about non-binary stuff? I want to talk about Nightshade.
Yeah, let's talk about, like...
Trans and transformers.
Like we touched on pronouns and stuff, right?
Yeah. I can express my love for they, them pronouns because the last thing I like is when people are like, oh, that's not proper English grammar. And I'm like, that's bull. It's been proper English grammar for centuries. All of us use they singular when we're talking about like an unspecified person. Oh, there's keys on the ground. Somebody dropped their keys. You don't even notice you do that, but we do that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people are like, I like English grammar too much. I just cannot do this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's official English grammar. We all use it. And even if it wasn't, even if it was new, why not? Why are you being stubborn about it? Why can't we have this beautiful neutral word that doesn't specify anybody's bodies or appearance? Like languages like Finnish, they don't have he or she. They have one third person singular pronoun that covers he and she. Use it on everybody. Their languages work perfectly fine. We don't actually need a he or she. We could all get by if we went by they. Context will tell you everything. If you're smart enough, you'll know if the sentence is talking about one or more people.
And so, like, language is like an evolving thing. Mm-hmm. And, like, we add new words all the time. And a lot of it is stuff that, like, existed before, but we just didn't have the words to describe. So, like, even just, like, they, them, like, even if it wasn't used before in the singular, like, we're using it in the singular now. And...
don't resist the change.
Like, we've had words that changed meaning or are new words that were introduced all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, if I tell you something is cool, are you immediately going to jump to the conclusion that that thing is a cold object? Or are you going to think that it's a awesome thing? Right. Or if, you know, if I tell you that I'm feeling gay, are you going to think that I feel happy? Or do you think that I like people of the same sex? Yeah. Like, our words change all the time. And so, like, just because, like, I don't even know why people would be against using the singular they, them. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. I think that's what I was trying to get at. Because
people, they just don't want anybody to be non-binary or use they, them. They want to lock people into these boxes. It's like, oh, you have these body parts, therefore you must speak in the way of your body parts, which I find is kind of gross and dehumanizing to be like, oh, you have a bleep, then you must use the male speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think what you hit on is right. Like, the system is not built for people like us. It's not built for non-binary people, and it's not like it's not built for any trans people. But, like, other people try to, like, force us into these boxes when really, like, we don't fit in those boxes.
At least we don't speak like, okay, well, I speak this language, so I can tell you, like, French, a language where everything you say about yourself is gendered. You use not only like a he or she, but your adjectives or your nouns reflect the gender. Like, what do you do when you're non-binary? You're forced in French to pick between the male words or the female words. There's not really anything neutral available. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to talk about my partner, and I might have to talk about my partner in French, but I would have to choose between calling them, like, male words or female words, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Come on, get with it, French people.
I think they
Get
I don't-
the non-binary words out there.
I researched as like how to talk about non-binary in French, and they have like neo-pronouns, but I don't think they've really caught on so much. And with the adjectives and nouns, people are like, they just kind of avoid using them, trying to find the most neutral words that they can, or they'll repeat the word in the masculine then feminine word, which is a huge mouthful and very inconvenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that must be like tiring and stuff, having to like say the same word in different genders.
Yeah, I'm glad English at least doesn't have this problem, but other languages, old beliefs, doesn't reflect us.
So should we talk about being non-binary and Nightshade?
Hell yeah.
Because I know you have a lot of thoughts on them.
I have a lot of thoughts because I was like the first person to make like a tiny video announcing that Nightshade was non-binary. I put it on YouTube. It was like 40 seconds of me being like, yay, there's finally a non-binary transformer. And that's it. That's the video. But then recently it's gotten thousands of views from like right-wing people, and all they do is they come to the video, hit the dislike button, and leave like a hate comment. So every day I see more and more hate comments. It's such a violent response to Nightshade being non-binary. Like I always see comments about people wanting to kill the creators of the show, and I'm like, what did Nightshade actually do? This character is like a very nice robot, like science and stuff. They're not doing anything inappropriate whatsoever.
Yeah, that's seriously messed up. Like I know when I saw Nightbird, and like especially like that last episode.
You said Nightbird and Nightshade. There's too many night shots.
Nightshade.
We got Nightbird, Nightbeat, Nightshade.
Well, maybe we'll talk about Nightbird and her being trans on a future podcast or something.
Nice.
But Nightshade, I know, like especially that last episode when they were talking to, was it Sam, the non-binary person that they met?
I don't remember their name, but there was a human. Yeah. Yeah,
the human that they met, and they explained about like being non-binary and stuff. Like I just like cried like crazy.
Oh my god.
Like, at that part, like I'm not really non-binary, but like it's part of like the trans umbrella, and just like seeing someone like that, so seeing someone that is like part of like my community that's like me and stuff, that meant like a lot to me.
Okay.
Like that meant so much to me.
I know it meant a lot to my non-binary partner too, to see that on TV.
Yeah. And like the fact that like kids watching this show who may or may not be non-binary, but like the non-binary ones are going to see that, and they're going to see someone like them on screen. Whereas like when do you ever see that in a children's cartoon? Like I know it was the first time in a Transformers cartoon, but like that's going to mean so much to other people in like the trans community.
Yeah.
And I know like at TFcon LA, I was talking to May Cat, like one of the creators of the show. Like I think she's like the story editor. Right. And I was just like telling her all that, and like how much like seeing Nightshade and then being non-binary meant like so much to me. And I know she was like worried about like if she like wrote it correctly, and like if it was presented correctly, like, you know what I mean? Like not misrepresenting non-binary people. And I think she did a great job, but like that's awful to hear that people would wish her harm just because she's trying to do a good thing, because she did that for like her partner. And I think she said that she has like a sibling who's non-binary, but like she's obviously doing it as like a point of love to like show other trans and non-binary people that like you're here, you're being represented and stuff like that, you know. Like why would you want to take that away from someone? Why would you not want someone to feel represented, to feel part of, the community or society. Why would you shun them or hate on them like that?
It's
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Incredible amount of ignorance is they don't actually know us or what non-binary means. They think non-binary is some kind of sexuality. They think the robot who's non-binary is being a sexual character. But if you watch the show, they haven't done anything sexual. They haven't even flirted with somebody. They have no interest in romance. No, not at all.
I know people ship them with tarantulas.
Oh man, I wouldn't.
But I don't think there's actually any sexual tension there.
No,
I think that's just fans
like,
reading stuff.
Fans are fans. They'll ship anything.
Fans will ship. That's what fans do.
I thought it was more like this young robot's being taught by like a father figure. I didn't take it any way else.
Yeah. It definitely had like more of a mentor-mentee side of things.
Now, geez, like, is the representation perfect for non-binary people? I don't think so. My partner doesn't think so. Besides that, though, we are super happy to see a non-binary robot because, like, why not? They're alien. They don't have biological sex. They're looking at humans and deciding, how should I present myself in the human way? He, she, that doesn't really work for me, so I'll use they. That makes sense. That makes total sense. But like the way people are taking that is like as though Nightshade's committing some kind of crime when they haven't done anything on screen that was terrible.
Well, other than secretly building that base and not being like logically, it's like,
oh, okay.
How did they build that base without anybody noticing?
I don't know. I don't know how they even got the money for that.
Where did they get the supplies? Like,
I don't know.
Those are my issues with Nightshade. It's like I don't get it. How did they do this? You don't even turn into a backhoe.
Now, if I want to say what didn't I like about the representation is like minor things. Is how this is how a friend of mine put it, actually, so I'll borrow her words. It's how Nightshade is put on a pedestal. Only Nightshade is asked about pronouns, whereas other characters like Hashtag and Jawbreaker, they're not asked about their pronouns. So it's only like Nightshade who like stands out and has to explain themselves. It's like, oh, you're the weird one, you have to explain yourself. So I don't like that. I wish it could have been like more subtle instead of just the characters, like the human and the robot being like, we're non-binary. I don't think there's any shame ever in saying you're non-binary. I just like it more when it's not like, look at us. If it's just natural, a part of life kind of thing.
Yeah, I think they could have handled that whole pronoun scene a lot better, but I think they were really trying to avoid misgendering Nightbird at any cost.
You said Nightbird again. I know you have a bias. You like Nightbird, don't you?
I like Nightbird. Nightshade. I think they're trying to not misgender Nightshade at any cost. Because like if Optimus would have like presumed their gender one way or the other, I think that would have given the transphobes some fuel to say, hey, Optimus said this, so they're this. And it's like, it definitely could have been handled better, but I think Nightshade as a character is really awesome. And I think that scene with their human non-binary friend kind of made up for the whole pronouns thing.
I actually think the scene of the human was a little like strong though. Like I was like,
oh really?
We were happy that it was happening. It's like, oh, okay, so you're teaching kids about non-binary people exist. And by the way, saying that somebody exists is not telling kids to become non-binary. No one in that show is like, non-binary is the best. You should be non-binary. Nobody does that. They're like, oh, this is what we are. It was just a little weird when that human was like, I feel safe with other non-binary people. I get the sense of community, but there's bad people and good people in any group. I wouldn't blindly trust anybody.
Yeah. I mean, we have Caitlyn Jenner, so there's always the good trans people and then the occasional bad one.
Yeah. And
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I really like that scene.
Mhm.
Like, maybe it's because, like, just as they noticed their pronoun pins, I also noticed their pronoun pins. I was like,
I
oh,
noticed
cool.
too.
And then they said, like, oh, I like your pronoun pins. It's like, oh, same. Samesies.
Yeah. I'm very happy because before Earthspark came out, I said in 2 of my videos, I said there have been no they them robots and there should be. And so then when this
Yeah.
came out, I took my clips and then I showed that pronoun scene and I was like, oh my god, it finally happened to everybody.
Yeah, like the closest we had was like Acid Storm in Cyberverse, who is like bigender, and that was only kind of like retroactively
Yes.
they were
yeah.
bigender, just because like I mean basically the animation team screwed up and they used like the male model sometimes and then they used the female model sometimes. So then again, like Baycat just said like, oh yeah, like they're bi-gender, so that's how that works.
Yeah.
Sometimes they present male, sometimes they present female.
I tried to double check this show is they don't actually refer to Acid Storm by any pronouns, I think, because they don't talk about Acid Storm, so there's no they use in that show. Nightshade is great because
No.
they're the first on-screen character who you know is non-binary and using they them. So that's why their representation, Acid Storm, is like an afterthought. It didn't represent anybody.
Yeah. Like Nightshade. See, I got it right that time.
You had to concentrate. I heard that you had
You heard me concentrating.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Nightshade was like the actual like official intended to be non-binary Transformers character.
Representing a real group of
Yeah.
people in the same way that we have let's say a Node and Lug. Was that what they were called? Why am I
Yeah, Anode and Lug.
Okay.
The 2 transbian.
And the RC,
And RC, yeah.
Retroactively for RC, but a Node and Lug are there representing real groups of people.
Yeah.
And it still makes sense.
As far as we didn't get like any there was no like trans mask characters in
No,
IDW, was
still
there?
waiting on that. We have not had trans mask characters. I think mostly because trans mask people are like less represented. All the controversy and attention is thrown on trans women.
Yeah.
So it's like people kind of forget.
Unfortunately.
It's usually bad attention. So I'm sorry for that.
No, it's okay.
It's not
I mean,
my fault.
I don't wish that you got any bad attention either.
No, maybe one day. In my own writing, I have trans mask, trans femme, non-binary characters, so that's all good.
Yeah. And I guess, I don't know, maybe it's also because, like, there's already less female Transformers.
Right, so we don't need to take the pre-existing female ones and convert them to male.
Yeah.
We can't take away the slim feminine representation.
Yeah, like maybe they could take like an existing male character and then like retroactively make them trans mask.
Yeah. Like
take like Sunstreaker or something and say that like, oh yeah, Sunstreaker was originally like a female frame and now he's like a male frame.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, I don't know, maybe Knockout. I could see Knockout being trans mask.
I don't know. Maybe that'd be kind of like me. It'd be like, okay, I have a masculine body, but I'll be as fabulous as I want to be.
Yeah.
Though, by the way, like I totally believe in the robots having any body shape and being whatever gender. Like, give us those big tanky female robots. They're robots. They can be anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I have a friend who is super into like Strika and stuff.
Yeah, Strika's pretty cool.
She likes the big girls.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still important to have typically like feminine bodied robots because you're still showing a group of people and you're saying like you can be badass if you look like this.
Yeah.
So just show all the bodies and slap all the genders on them and you got everybody represented.
Yeah.
I like it like that.
Yeah, everyone from the Strikas to the Knockouts to like, yeah. You have like the mask femme people and the femme mask people and the non-binaries. It's all good.
Perfect. The overlords.
Yeah.
Don't forget the overlords.
Oh, the overlords, which are technically like bigender, but then present mask or something.
If you go off Master Force, yeah.
Master Force, yeah. I don't know. Maybe you're talking about IDW with his big kissy lips
That
and
is
stuff.
the one I focus on, yes.
I don't know. I tend to go towards Master Force, but yeah.
I like the direction Transformers is going. That's why the new influx of people are like a lot of LGBTQ plus people in the fandom, because it's opened itself out to them. And they're like, oh, shit, gays in space? This is awesome. Robot gays in space.
I was watching one of Kal-El Prime's videos. I don't know if you ever watched him, but he was talking about like the new comic book license. And he was also reflecting on like how IDW really brought in a lot of people and really like diversified the fandom in like a very good way. Because like it definitely brought in like a lot of like queer or trans people. Because like, I mean, honestly, that is a lot of what the IDW comics were, right? There's a lot of I don't want to say pandering to like LGBTQ people, but
a bit, yeah.
Like they definitely they knew their audience. They knew what they liked. They liked the gay robots.
That was especially like More Than Meets the Eye is what they did. Like if you look at the old IDW comics, it was all male characters, no romance, no nothing. It was like James Roberts who really kind of got it going.
Yeah, like the whole Furman era. Yeah, definitely. It was just like robot war and stuff like that.
It was boring. It wasn't like these comics were only about gay stuff. There was a lot of adventure and the DJD and traveling through space and time and dimensions and stuff like that. Yeah,
I really need to read more of the IDW comics.
They're good. Romance and all.
I kind of stopped like when they announced the Revolution crossover thing that they were doing.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not reading like Rom the Space Knight to find out what happened to Blur or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, It's like I don't need to read like 15 different comics.
I never like a crossover.
Know what's happening. Yeah.
I hope with the new comics they will go back to the queer stuff. Like they did in IDW 2019 was still doing it, but it was still IDW. I don't know about this new company.
Yeah, I know, like, I think at least one of the writers is the guy that wrote, like, the Walking Dead books.
Yeah.
So...
I heard that, too.
I don't know, I never read those, so I, like, barely watched the show. I kind of got bored with zombies after, like, a few seasons. It was like, okay, we're still doing this? All right, I'm done.
I mean, even if the new comics are only robot war, that's fine. But if there's going to be romance, if it's only straight romance, it doesn't make sense. These robots, they don't reproduce. Why would they only be heterosexual? They should be dating any robot of their species.
Yeah.
So please don't go back to like G1 where it was just like Orion, Alita, and that's it kind of.
I don't know. We had Red Alert and Inferno.
I know. I'm saying like they were all like male-female ships, strictly straight. Why? I don't know why. They shouldn't be like that when they don't reproduce. They don't have anything telling them. They don't have that societal norm, or they don't have that taboo.
No, but Red Alert and Inferno were both dudes.
Oh, Inferno, you said.
Inferno, yeah.
It wasn't confirmed. It wasn't confirmed. I was thinking like Firestar for some reason.
Oh, okay.
A different fiery girl.
Okay. Well, I guess that would technically make Inferno bi, because he was also with Firestar.
I don't remember who was shipped with who. I just didn't like it, so it was like... that's
so I think we're going to go on to
yeah.
our last bullet point there.
Yeah, I think so.
So I kind of touched on it a little bit on... Sorry, let me start over.
I think we can connect the bridge by being like, because of these new fans brought in by More Than Meets the Eye. Like, we have a lot of queer people who are watching us, and they love that we're open on the internet. So when we go to conventions, people come up to us and thank us. And I have had not just you, but other people say that I inspired them to start transitioning.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wow, okay, that's great.
Especially like at TFcon LA, I had like so many people come up to me and just be like, "Hey, you're Ultra Primal." And they just started into like the fact that I was open about being trans and not afraid to hide that, like helped them like realize who they are and be comfortable with who they are, and just like them wanting to start transitioning, like it meant like so much to me. Like I was literally starting to cry like at some of them. Like I had to hold back the tears because like it was incredible just like hearing some of the fans talk about how much like my dumb videos meant to them.
And contrary to what right-wingers believe, you didn't say in any of your videos, "Go be trans, it's the best thing ever." You never said that. You just say, like, "You're trans, this is what you're doing." And for the people who already share your feelings, it just clicks with them. They're like, "I can do this too. Ultra's doing it, why can't I do it?"
Yeah, and I think is kind of what I was trying to get at in, like, my last video, just because, like, these cartoons spoke to me in a way that, like, nothing else did at the time. And I guess that is what I'm doing for my fans now.
Yeah.
Is that because like you just don't see people talk about being trans, just like how they didn't do that when I was a kid. So like having these like people, or, you know, in my situation, cartoons that helped me like either realize I was trans or helped me realize that I was feeling this way. You know, it's a huge benefit, I think. And honestly, I'm honored that I can help people in that way. But yeah, like all I've ever said is that I'm trans. I'm happy that I'm trans, and just like continuing on my trans journey is just it's everything I wanted. Like I finally see myself as who I wanted to be, and I'm like all I can say is just I'm happy with myself. Like that's as simple and as honest as I can put it.
And no one should tell you to do something otherwise, because if it's making you happy, then it's working.
Yeah, and like I'm not hurting anyone else. Like it's not anybody else's business. And like at least like all my friends and stuff have been super accepting and encouraging, some more than others. But like we could talk about after, like some of my friends' weird questions and stuff. It's like
not the weird questions, please.
Not the weird questions.
Sometimes people think they're entitled to ask trans people like really personal questions. I'm like, would you really just ask this to everybody else? Like, do you ask people what kind of things they do in private or what they have in their pants? No, you're the creep when you're doing that.
No, but they're pretty chill about it, and like I'm usually like pretty happy to answer any questions. Like we're close enough that we can like joke about that kind of stuff with each other.
If a stranger does that to you, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, if it was a stranger, I would be like, that's a little rude there.
None of your business. Let's go back to talking about like our trans fans and the people who told us that they wanted to transition because we inspired them by being out and happy.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would we give to people who think they may be trans, but they're not sure?
So obviously, like everybody's situation is different. So I think like the best general advice I can give you is if you think you're trans, like if you're not sure, like I would definitely talk to people that you trust, like people that you trust implicitly, like for 100% sure trust. Because like obviously this is like a sensitive subject for some people. And I would say, like, try talking to them about your feelings and how you think you might be trans. And if they're cool with it, maybe try out, like, different names or different pronouns. And if you have, like, the safe space to do so, maybe try different clothes and stuff that you think would suit your chosen gender better. Like, a lot of it is just figuring out who you are. And even if you're not trans, at least you've done the work and you can be confident in your, I don't know, what would be the cis version of heterosexuality, but like whatever, your cisgenderhood or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's just genderism. I mean, yeah, you learn something about yourself.
Yeah.
There's no shame in experimenting. And the stuff we're talking about it's harmless at the end of the day. You're not modifying your body or anything. You're testing out what makes you happy. And maybe you'll find it's not your body. Maybe you just want to be fabulous.
Yeah. If you want to, like, wear jewelry, you can wear jewelry. You don't have to, like, trans your gender to wear jewelry.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember back in the day, it was like the fashionable thing for guys to get earrings. And it's like, yeah, like I wasn't interested in earrings. I'm still not interested in earrings. I'm not, even though I'm a trans woman, it's like, I'm not really into jewelry that much. Like it all depends, like how you want to express yourself and how you want other people to perceive you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, think about the clothes and the presentation and how your body feels when you're doing that. Like, do you have discomfort about your body? Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Some things that could be like hints would be like, do you feel good when people like mistake you for a man or a woman and you're typically not called those things? Like, do you feel gender euphoria, which is not dysphoria? Like, do you feel a happiness when someone calls you a different gender, or when you have a flat chest, or when you stuff your chest, something like that?
Yeah, like I was just reminded of so like I used to work in a grocery store when I was younger, and like obviously we'd have like our uniforms and stuff, and like for some reason it was part of the dress code that women had to leave their shirts untucked and men had to tuck their shirts in. And I don't like tucking in my shirt, so I just left the shirt untucked. And so like occasionally this other woman that worked there, she would like tease me. It's like, you know, oh, do we want to call you how try not to phrase it without giving away my dead name or something.
They were teasing you like, oh, do you want us to call you by a sweet feminine name? And you're like, yes, please do that.
Yes, basically. And I also remember like occasionally, like usually it's like the older customers with maybe not the best eyesight, but like I said before, like I would try to keep my hair long, so like occasionally, like they would say, "Excuse me, miss, do you know where this is?" And I would just be like, yes, please follow me." And like I wouldn't correct them or anything. I would just like be super happy that they, I guess, misgendered me or gendered me correctly in retrospect.
Right.
But yeah, like it's funny how like a lot of my experiences, or at least the ones I remember from working there, have been like kind of like a little trans related.
Yeah. Those are the kind of things that if you feel that you might be trans, just keep exploring.
Yeah.
You have to like really like think about your feelings, and you can talk to like a gender therapist. They'll ask you things like, how long have you been feeling this way? What have you been feeling? What makes you happy? Do you feel uncomfortable with certain parts of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gosh, I hope this podcast has been very educational.
Yeah. I mean, we've gone for like 2 hours, so
hey, you said 1 to 2 hours, and I know you can cut a lot, so then in the end it should be a perfect amount.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good amount.
Yay.
So I think we should probably try and close it out.
Mhm.
I know people know where to find me because they're listening to this or watching this on my channel. I still don't know how this is going to be put out, whether it's just like audio only or if I'll add some kind of visual to it. I don't know how YouTube podcasts work yet.
I don't know.
But we're trying it.
If there's
we're giving
images,
it a
though,
shot.
you can put me in a skirt if you're gonna put images. I'll be like, look, you can dress any way you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I should ask, like, Emperor Kumquat, where can people find you?
On my YouTube channel by that exact same name you just said, Emperor Kumquat.
Nice. And do you have anything else to promote, maybe?
Oh, you mean like my game that's very genderqueer? The genderqueer sequel to Transformers Prime, the Choose Your Own Adventure story game? That one?
Yeah. I didn't know it was genderqueer. I thought it was just very violent.
It's extremely violent. That's why I have to put a warning at the start of the game that this is for like mature audiences, not because there's gay and trans and queer characters, but because it's so violent. It's just like a very focused, like lore accurate Transformers Prime story, lots of emotion and plot, but there's tons of characters in it, and there's even they them characters. I mean, LGBTQ plus characters, yeah.
And make sure you listen to, I'm trying to find it. What was that song that I really liked from the game? The one with the guy that eats the brains and stuff. The zombie TFcon guy.
My brain is loading. Eats the brains?
the guy with like the dish on his head.
My characters. Oh, Sunder. Yeah, I made Sunder into a can. He's gay.
Oh, okay.
He's a horrifying, cannibalistic, undead supernatural creature, and he's gay.
And his theme song is super awesome.
Oh yeah, he'll kill everybody. He'll murder everybody except for like his husband.
I literally listen to that like at least once a week, sometimes like once a day.
Really?
I really like that song.
And
yes, it's so good.
You know who made it? A non-binary trans woman made that.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll just be like at work doing like boring stuff, and then I'll just like put that on and I'll just like burn through the work as quick as I can.
I'm so glad you like that. Now I'm going to have to listen to it.
I love it. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
All right.
So I guess I'll close out and just say, like, thank you for listening, watching, maybe, depending how this goes up. Remember to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And also do that for Emperor Kumquat. And I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yay.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.